place to be is living free in Tennessee.
Okay, this might be working. If this thing has audio, can somebody just give me something in the comments? Because there was already stuff muted. Bro, it's been cold. Well, it's been cold, and it's been warm, and it's been in between, and all of it, I'm straight, like, I don't know. I'm about to start calling psych facilities to see if I can get the weather admitted and formally diagnosed with bipolar. I think Tuesday we were mid 60s. Yesterday we didn't get above freezing. We dropped down to like 20 last night. And then it was weird because this morning I got up and we were already above freezing. And I think now we're already up to 50 and it's still getting warmer. So, yeah, the weather cannot make its mind up on anything. Like, as much as I hate the cold, pick something and stick with it at this point because this is just ridiculous. I can't plan anything because you don't know what is actually going to happen. Like, I was not about to try to like start gluing PC fittings up. Yeah, gonna hit 48 to 50 in Nashville maybe. Yeah, I looked a few minutes ago when we were at 50 and it's still getting warmer. So, speaking of which, this is one of my heavier jackets. And now that I'm sitting down inside, it's actually even warmer than it was outside. I was thinking about changing out of that anyway. Cece, do you want to join the live stream? You decide to come out of the bedroom finally? Of course, now that I'm here by myself is when she probably wants to go outside. But anyway, Nicole is at the PickTN something in Lebanon. They're doing, I think it's a 3-day event. So she served coffee yesterday. She's there again today. They're doing some panels and stuff. And then I don't know what's going on, but I know she's planning on being there tomorrow as well. So it sounds like she's having some good conversations with some people there. Might be some interesting stuff coming out of it. I don't know. I didn't really get a full rundown yesterday when she got back because she was fairly exhausted. And it was cold yesterday too, so they were cruising through coffee, I think. But anyway, I don't have much on my list of things happening right now just because the weather's been so erratic. We did end up with, I think, one rabbit out of the 3 that were bred. So probably sometime next week, we're going to look at trying to rebreed at least 2 of them. And then I have got to figure out something for their nesting boxes to strap them in place because it's not a major issue, but every now and then one of them pushes a nesting box across the cage and up against one of the watering nipples and drains the entire system, which in the summertime I really don't care. But in the wintertime, because that system runs off of a pump to circulate the water, it's a lot more of an issue. A, because I don't want to burn the pump out, and B, because when the pump stops pumping, stuff starts freezing. And if they don't drain that water line completely, then the water line will actually freeze up and runs the risk of actually cracking something. But on that system, I specifically didn't glue the ends on so that if it freezes, as long as it's not too bad of a freeze, it'll actually just push the elbow off the end and the ice has somewhere to go instead of just out. So that system has actually froze up a couple of times because something happened with the pump. And thus far, I have not actually cracked any of the PVC because of that. So it's a little hack on that. And yeah, we've well established that the girls that we brought over here that are very clearly pregnant just basically ballooned up almost instantly because they're well past the time that they should have given birth. But I was looking at Amy last night, and it's like she's definitely giving Bruni a run for her money on how big she's getting. She's like got the full on like triangular belly going, but still she has not started producing any milk at all, so she's clearly not close. But they have been on hay for a bit over here just because there's not anywhere near the amount of grass growing here that there is in the pasture. But I'm just now, like, we're mid-January, and I'm just now putting the girls over there on hay. And even at that, I took a bale up yesterday or the day before and threw a bale out. Everybody ran up all excited, looked at me, and looked like, okay, well, we're going to go eat field hay because apparently that tastes better. And I saw them. They did dive into the bale of hay that I threw out for them, but they did not go through very much of it at all. So they still have plenty of field hay, and we're still, I think we've got 5 paddocks that we have not put them on since basically stuff stopped growing. So there's at least 5 paddocks with field hay in it. So hopefully we will not go through a ton of hay this year. And I'm hoping with the way the weather is too, because I mean, I made a pass through the pasture a little bit ago and was looking for a couple of things and also pulling some of their fencing from the previous paddocks. And there's definitely a microclimate on the top half of that pasture. It was actually, unless you go up to the very top or you're getting hit with the wind, like that in between the halfway mark and almost all the way to the top, there's a nice area that's sheltered from the wind for the most part, and it just stays so much warmer up there than further down. And so there's actually a fair amount of green grass still growing in the top half of the pasture. It's a lot less down below, but there is still some green grass down there. And then as far as like what's in season, dead nettle. That's really about the only thing that's really growing right now. Like there's a clover plant in the rock garden that's somehow still alive. And then there's like the comfrey along the rock wall is still alive-ish, but looks like death. And everything else is just like done. And I mean, we've gotten enough hard freezes. Apparently the ticks actually back out like 2-3 weeks ago, which was interesting. And I'm really hoping that they all decided to come out and then like 2 days later freeze to death. So kind of hoping that we're going to have a light tick year. Last year was horrible with the ticks and the chiggers. So another part of the bipolar weather, which will also make it a little interesting in the spring to see kind of what happens with some of the germination of what didn't get that good cold snap to actually there's a word that I can't think of right now. When the seed has to get cold, I can't think of the word right now. There's a word for it. Somebody can, if you really need to know, you can Google it. But that's another interesting part with the weather that I'll be curious to see in the spring. Oh, lamb's quarter, or not lamb's quarter, lamb's ear. The lamb's ear is still alive. I got Stratify, yes, that one. I got basically a clump of lamb's ear from a neighbor, and I managed to break it into 5 plants. One of them actually survived. I put them in 5 different places just to try, like, not sure what was going to happen with it. And one of them survived. It's still alive now. It still looks exactly like it's supposed to. It's green. It's got leaves on. And it's actually split into 2 already. So hopefully this summer or spring or something, I'm going to be able to split that one and get some more of that going. But that is something else that's actually not really caring about the dyslexic weather right now. But yeah, that's about all that's going on with that stuff. Look at the very short list that I have. Oh, the coyotes. Yes, the coyotes have been really, really active the last, 2 or 3 weeks, which for the girls over in the pasture, I'm not going to say it's a concern, but it's always in the back of your mind. I mean, I've got 2 giant dogs over there for a reason. Last night, we went over to base camp and getting ready to come back over here, and the boys were just howling. Like, the coyotes were going, the dogs were howling back, and I was like, it is freezing out here. I really don't want to go up there. And on top of that, like, I had some cold weather gear on, but not really enough to go for a lengthy 4-wheeler ride. But it was like, all right, I'm going to bite the bullet and just make a quick pass through over there. And of course, by the time I got up to where everybody's at, the dogs were just chilling. And so I kind of made a pass through, let the headlights of the 4-wheeler hit all the tree lines, and the coyotes kind of shut up. So, I'm a little bit more concerned about the girls that are over here just because they don't have a dog with them all the time. But like a couple of days ago, the coyotes took to howling, and they were close. They were up over behind the neighbor's house on the opposite side that the pasture's on. And so I just opened the backyard, yelled dog, and mine came charging out the door, barking at whatever there was that needed to get barked at. And within a minute or two, they kind of shut up. And so I will try to do that. It's also the reason when, it's 11 o'clock at night and my dog goes to just barking and raising hell, I let her. It just lets the coyotes know that, yes, there are dogs over here. They don't need to know that that dog is going inside for the rest of the evening. We're set up with coyotes west of town. The mule out there means, yeah, they skirt the pasture rather than go through. Yeah, I know at least one person running a mule instead of dogs for that purpose. A lot of times what I will do is I'll just walk out and pop a round or two off, which kind of just tells the coyotes very politely that they should probably go be somewhere not here. I've been kind of holding off on doing that just to see if I can establish a little bit of where they're running, but I've not been able to do that yet. I was kind of hoping that maybe I could kind of figure out if they were using a specific lane, like an area. I used to have, when I was in North Carolina, there was 2 foxes that would come through my yard. And it was always between like 11 and 1 o'clock in the morning. And they kind of took the same path every time, within about 30 yards or so. So I've been trying to kind of see if I could figure any of that out with the coyotes. Like, are they using the road as a thoroughfare, or are they cutting back up through the wash? Are they going down the power lines? Any of that kind of thing. But I just haven't been able to figure out any of that. So I don't know. I might actually pop a couple of rounds off tonight. But I mean, it's not unusual to hear the LGDs barking at night. There's usually something for them to bark at. But the last week or two, you can tell the difference. I mean, just like a mother can tell the difference in the way that their baby's crying, tell like the dogs are amped up and ready to fight. Like they want to kill something. So I've been keeping a lot closer eye on the girls over here. Right now, they're kind of in between Nicole's house and the neighbor's house, so it's a little less of a concern, but I don't know. I might skip the back 40 on this next cycle, depending on what these coyotes keep the pressure up. How big are the dogs? That's a good question. Those dogs have left the pasture one time when they were about 10 months old to go to the vet. If I had to guess, they're probably 120 to 150 pounds. And yes, the LGDs, I'm talking about the LGDs that are 120 to 150 pounds. I mean, they're big dogs. They come up to about my waist. Their paws are massive. Their heads are massive. And they will literally tear a coyote in half. Like one on one end, one on the other end, and they will play tug of war until they tear it in half. Like they're that big. So like I'm a lot less concerned with a coyote getting in. Like if a coyote gets in the paddock with them, that coyote has a death wish. Like there's just no other way around that. But the girls over here, we keep the flock split for a reason, and we keep the girls close here because I'm not running LGDs over here that I can afford to feed for LGDs. And then we've got all of our dogs here. So a lot of times too, like I encourage my dog, like, let's go to the bathroom out behind where the girls are, just so that she's putting her scent out there, which kind of helps convince the coyotes that yes, there are dogs over here. And it's also one of the reasons that like I actually kind of prefer it, even if it disturbs the neighbors, that she goes out at 11 o'clock at night barking like she wants to kill something. So, and like Sunny is not what I would call an LGD. She's about 45 pounds. I would let her take on a coyote just because, I mean, she's ACD, so she was bred to move 2,000-pound cows. And she also has Siberian Husky and Chow Chow in her, which means she has a serious attitude problem. And she will fight anything. So, yeah, the whole size of the fight in the dog. Oh, you're going to ask me that question. What breed are they? I want to say, and we just had this conversation yesterday, I think they are Anatolian and Pyrenees mix. I might be wrong on that. I know they've got Pyrenees in them. I think the other one is Anatolian. I think somewhere there should be pictures of them. I might see if I can get a video or something. Anatolian and Marama? I am not familiar with that breed. I'm gonna have to look that one up. But I know I've thrown pictures of the boys up on Telegram, and I got a good picture of Max with a really funny look on his face. I will try to remember to throw that up on the Telegram group just because here in a little bit. But video please. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll go over to the pasture and shoot a little bit of video just with the boys. But yeah, so I mean that's kind of what I've been doing with the whole coyote situation. I probably should think about actually just putting a couple of rounds in the ground here in the very near future. People think my husky is big. Yeah, I mean 60 pounds is the high side of what I would call a medium dog. Like I would say a medium dog is like, I don't know, 40 to 70. But I mean, huskies, I mean, they can have an attitude. Like Sunny, for the most part, is, I mean, she's got a good temperament, but she's also got a switch. So we've had a number of problems being out in town, and it's always the little tiny yippy things that throw an attitude at her and start barking, and she's like, oh really? And it's like, no, we're just gonna go the other way. You're not gonna kill that thing, because she probably would. But yeah, it's interesting when you start getting into a little bit of the different breeds and start figuring some stuff out, especially like I got Sunny's DNA tested, and when I figured out what exactly she had in her, it was like, oh, that explains a lot. But anyway, Yeah, I think the only other thing I've actually got on my list is we finally did get the excavator out. He was supposed to come out like, I don't know, a month and a half ago, maybe longer, and he broke. And I finally got the full story on what happened, and there was like couldn't find a replacement part, and then somebody said they could get it, and then they couldn't get it, and then he found something else that would work, and then the guy called him and was like, I actually found the part you actually need. So there was a whole thing with that, and then once he did get it actually fixed, it was like he got into a project that took him way longer than he expected, so he couldn't come out, and then the weather wasn't right, and then it was one thing after another. But when he finally came out, was here for almost a full day. So we got a trench dug beside base camp to be able to run a proper drain out from the basement with the goal of adjusting the way that the air conditioner condensation drains out, as well as the washer, and being able to put the 3-bay sink in down there. So I have not cut the hole in the wall yet because like it turned cold the day after he left, and I just did not feel like, I just didn't feel like it. So we'll see how today goes, because he also dug a trench going from the old cistern to the pond, and I've already got the pipe coming out the side of the cistern for the drain for the overflow. So once I get that in, I need to go pick up another soft coupling, and I can actually get the spring pipe back into the cistern. And then the spring, at that point, the spring will be going into the cistern and then overflowing to the pond. And that opens up the possibility of being able to, I don't know what we're going to eventually do with it. We need to get that water tested, but it opens up the possibility for maybe doing some irrigation stuff with it, or, having a spigot that you can get spring water for drinking or whatever out of. I don't know exactly what we're going to do with it, but kind of looking forward to getting that thing back up and running properly. And then I also took him out to a couple of places, and we scraped 3 different places to be able to put basically an RV spot in. So if you're familiar with that property at all, over by the outhouse, there's one spot there that, like, I don't even like mowing over there. It was so bad. Like, it's not level. The terrain goes in every direction, full of holes, rocks, and everything else. So he actually scraped and got a good flat spot there, and kind of, not necessarily level, but made everything a consistent slope. And then same thing along the back side of the fence line. That was another place where, like, you try to run the mower down the fence line, and it was up, down, up, down, up, down. And like very dramatic fashion that makes it almost impossible to mow up against that fence line. So that was another one of the things I was like, if you don't do anything else back here, make that one consistent slope. So I probably got a little bit of shovel work that I need to do along that fence line just to kind of smooth everything out completely. But I am actually looking forward to springtime when I get to take the mower through there and not have to worry about hitting a rock or a giant hole or anything else, and just being able to mow that. That's another area that started with an overgrown mess that you couldn't walk through. And then we got another two places we kind of scraped and made a level spot that it's kind of an initial thing. Well, to make a decent RV spot, it would probably need a second round of something, but kind of let everything settle out for the time being. And then there's a fourth spot that we've been looking at. We're probably going to have to get a dump truck load of dirt to do this the right way. But we at least got part of that, the first little bit of it knocked down so that we can at least get the lawnmower and the four-wheelers through there a little bit easier. So that's a fourth spot that we're looking at doing. And then we also did some work in the backyard because there's a spot where the water just kind of pulls up and it turns into a muddy mess. So we got the first pass on that to see if we can start to get that to drain a little bit better. And then after we got done with all of that, we actually swung over here and dealt with a spot down by the wash that has always just been a nightmare. And I finally got stuff uphill the wash to where the water is a little bit slower. And so now we're trying to kind of grade some stuff out over there to actually control where the water goes and stop washing everything down to the slab rock. So we'll see. We got a good initial pass on that. There's a lot more that can be done with it, but at least hopefully that sets the foundation to get something growing there, which will help hold everything together. And so I'll be really curious to see what I'm able to do with that over the summertime when stuff actually starts growing back. So it was definitely, that was one of those well worth having him out here for the day. I think I got through everything at base camp that I wanted to get done with him. And there was a couple of other things that if we had had a good bit more time, we could have dug into over here, literally. But, save that for a minute. But anyway, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's been going on the last couple of days. It's been, this is normally the point in the year where I'm just like hunker down for the winter and keep the fire going and like checking in on animals. Like this time last year was a deep freeze where it was like, go check the animals 3 or 4 times a day and bust ice on their water. And it's like, I think I've had to bust ice on water once this year. And that was a couple of days ago. So it's like, I don't know. It's like, I'm not really in the mindset to do a bunch of major projects, but at the same time, we got the weather to do some major projects. So yeah. Anyway, that is what it is. But I think that's about all I've got for the time being. So unless anybody has any other questions, I will probably staring at comments about the dogs. So I will try to remember to go over and get some video with them today just to be able to throw that up somewhere. I will probably throw it up in the Telegram group, depending on how long the video is. And then I'll have to wait for Nicole to get back to see about getting it on her channel. But all right, guys. Well, till next time. Bye.